Hello, and welcome to Never a Dull Moment, a talk show and podcast for angels and founders. Ziad of Boston Harbor Angels has fun with co-hosts and guests as they discuss and debate all topics from the world of startups and entrepreneurship. Welcome to the conversation. Now, here they are. Enjoy the show.
Startup is never a sort of a monotonic upward going line. It's sort of two steps forward, one step backward. And it's scary. And I guess as I've progressed in my career, I've realized to take more of an engineering point of view toward these things, that they are simply problems that need to be solved. It's not a good idea to get emotional about it. You need to just sit down and think it through. And for that reason, good entrepreneurs know when to pull in their reins a little bit and slow down. And then there's times when you should step on the gas and speed up. A lot of times, entrepreneurs fail because they don't react. They just simply say, okay, I have this idea and I'm just going to go at it in this way. And they don't measure what's going on. They don't observe how other people see them and other people see their companies. And so, they make the mistake of just plowing ahead when every startup has to zig and zag. I've never this is my sixth company. And even though Wasabi is doing essentially what I had in my original business plan, we're selling 60% or more of our product through channels today. And there was nothing about channels in my original business plan.
So when I started 5 years ago, I felt like I was laughed out of every room that I walked into. But what's happened in the last 5 years is a few things. One is that the cost of glass has skyrocketed. The second is that, climate change and this idea that it's our individual responsibility that we need to take accountability for and make individual choices has really driven a lot of change. And that's when kind of the combination of those two things, we've seen the industry stop fighting against this idea of alternative packaging and really begin to embrace it. And earlier this year, Jancis Robinson, who's one of the most famous wine critics in the entire world, literally said, canned wine has arrived. It's time for us to take it seriously. We have our wines being poured at James Beard Award-winning restaurants. We're available on, major airlines like JetBlue. We're available at, mass retail locations like Target. And everywhere we go, what we hear is the same, which is, the quality of wine that you guys put in a can is there. It's delicious. It's better than a lot of bottled wine that's out there.
So a patent is a government grant. It's a grant by each government. Every country has their own patent system where they grant a monopoly to inventors on inventions, sort of creations, which have typically technical, but not always, utility. So a patent, one is a simple way to think about a patent. It's a government-granted monopoly on an advance, an improvement, whether it's in a process or in a design machine, possibly in a composition, and so forth. There are patents on plants that could cover trees and the like, but that's less common. So your typical patent is on a technical improvement, though there are other flavors.
You just talked about having this wonderful meeting with entrepreneurs of color, Black entrepreneurs in particular. And, in the community where I live, which is in the Black community, I see wonderful business leaders, entrepreneurs with great innovative ideas who are trying to bring those ideas fully to market. One of the things that is always a barrier is just the level of access that those brilliant entrepreneurs have to capital, access to opportunities, access to people who will open the doors for them, give them that big break or to give them that opportunity to bring that product fully.
The investor is taking the risk up front when the company is at a point where there's more risk. And it may not convert for a long period of time. And when it converts into equity, at that time, the company may be worth a lot more. So the investor may not be compensated for the risk he or she is taking when they make the safe investment.
In fact, you can say, I want two-factor authentication, the key card and the face. Now there's more security. Why? Because if you give me your key card, I tap and I open the door, the door lock mechanism and the system will say, oh, Ziad entered the office at 9:17 a.m.
Comes down to how fast you can separate and differentiate from the pack. And many times the companies or your competitors are focused so much on the product and the technology that they don't focus on building the brand. The brand is a definite point of differentiation and acceleration in terms of owning the narrative for the marketplace.
I'd build on that too, or add to that if you are a startup or emerging brand, which is what I think you said, Ziad, is that there's a couple different ways to build it. If you know you have a really great product, service, or technology, you might be building the brand to last 3 to 5 years, so you're not spending money twice, and you're building a kind of broad framework. Wasabi is a fantastic example. And then other brands that are kind of maturing a technology and maybe quite haven't figured out exactly where the product market fit is. You have to build a much more agile brand and kind of tack or pivot as you grow it. So there are a number of different ways to approach it.
One of the hardest things that a founder will ever do is eventually get to some kind of a liquidity event. That's a really tough situation. And if they're starting to think about it and plan for that, that's probably the most intelligent thing that they can do in terms of being able to set themselves up to get to that liquidity event.
All of our matchmakers have to have a high degree of emotional intelligence. And that's a requirement upon being a matchmaker. And I think even more so being an employee of Tawkify, to be able to understand relationships and support people through relationships, you have to be able to cater to a number of different people with variety of needs and be able to pick up on that emotionally.
Thank you for listening to Never a Dull Moment. We hope you've enjoyed the show. And don't forget to rate and review us. Until next time, have a great day.